Hello and welcome to the Book Tasters. From young adult to tween and everything in between, the Book Tasters serve up the tastiest reviews of today's and yesterday's greatest stories. I'm your host, TJ Burdick, and joined by me is my co-host for the week, Ariana. Ariana, how are you today?
Great, how about you?
I cannot complain. February is almost over. I don't know if you've ever heard it. I know your mom's a teacher, right? February is the shortest month of the year, but it's the longest month of the year in education. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Even for students-wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just takes so long, especially here in Michigan. It's cold and kind of gray and dreary, but, you know, we get through. We survive, don't we? We find our ways to have fun, like doing this podcast, right? Mm-hmm. Awesome. So I heard you brought some facts with us today. Why don't you get us started with fact number one?
Okay, this year the expected number of money spent on the fast food is around $223 billion.
Worldwide?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, I'm probably about 1 billion of that because of my family. I have a big family. How many kids do I have now? I have 4 with another one on the way. Yeah, we eat a lot of fast food because it's yummy, though. Do you eat fast food?
Not really.
Not very often. If you could live on one fast food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Maybe pizza.
Pizza?
Yeah.
Pizza Hut? Domino's?
Pizza Hut.
Little Caesars?
Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut? Yeah, Pizza Hut's good stuff. I really like those. All right, next fact.
A man sued the Kellogg Company because he didn't find any real fruit in his Fruit Loops.
Oh, those poor Kellogg's. You know, Kellogg is located in a town here in Michigan, in Kalamazoo. Did you know that? Mm-hmm. I had a friend who went to Western Michigan University. Nope, never mind. She did not go there. She went to Kalamazoo College. And interestingly enough, when she came back to Grand Rapids, she missed the smell of cereal because it's in the air, like all over the place. And yeah, I love cereal. What's your favorite cereal?
Cheerios, probably.
Yeah. What type of Cheerios? Just the regular solid, the yellow box kind, or like the multigrain?
I like the Honey Nut Cheerios.
Honey Nut?
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the apple cinnamons. I like that. Those are really yummy. All right, next one. What you got?
At the age of 11, Dua Lipa's school choir told her that she couldn't sing because her voice was too low.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
And this person has obviously become a famous singer. Okay, what do they sing?
She sings Don't Start Now, I think.
Okay, nice.
And Physical, yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay, interesting. Huh. I think there's a lot of stories out there of people who have been told that they couldn't do something. And I think everybody has to go through that at some point because usually when people are really good at stuff, there's a lot of people in the world who just don't want to see them succeed. And it's a sad, sad thing. It makes them better, is what I've heard as well. All right, next one.
There are as many molecules in 10 drops of water as there are stars in the universe.
10 drops of water, enough molecules as stars in the universe. Oh, my goodness gracious, That's a lot, and that just blew my mind. I'm thinking of a little drop of water now, and how many little molecules it has to be able to create that one little thing. Wow, our universe, science is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I love science.
It's such a wonderful subject, and it boggles the mind how minuscule, like even microbiology, how interesting that concept can be. Not just studying it. Like I can imagine like spending years and years studying it, but like the concept of microbiology. How for millions of years people didn't even know existed, and yet here we are, at the apex of scientific revolution, and we know these things that are so incredibly tiny. Just boggles my mind. All right, I know you got another one for us.
Neil Gaiman had a talking cat named Zoe.
Nice. Neil Gaiman had a talking cat named Zoe. Now, you brought a book by Neil Gaiman today. Could you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so I'm reading the Graveyard book, and I chose it because I kind of I read Coraline, and it was really good, so I figured that I might like this book too, and I like it. The main character is Bod, and for me, he reminds me a lot of like Harry Potter because he kind of has to learn different skills to like live in his world, kind of, because he is an orphan and like is adopted by ghosts and like vampires and like werewolves.
Oh dear. So Bod is an orphaned child, but he grows up in a graveyard, I'm assuming. Okay, is he a ghost himself, or is he
He kind of like he can do things that ghosts can do, but he's still like alive. It's kind of confusing.
Okay,
But,
that's
yeah.
interesting. So he has this fantastical world. How did he get introduced to the graveyard book? So obviously he was an orphan at some point, but then he transferred into this fantasy world at some point. How'd that?
Well, his parents like got murdered, and he like ran away. Like when he was a baby, he ran away and didn't really know like that there was a murder in the house, like a murderer. And he went to the graveyard and just there were like people, like the ghosts were there. And then his mom was like, "Can you take care of my son?" Like when she was dead. Yeah.
Interesting. So we have this lovely little family now of we have ghosts, we have vampires, we have werewolves, we have all these different types of fantastical creatures in the nighttime. Where's the conflict in this story?
I don't really know yet. Like,
Okay.
So I guess, Bod, I don't know.
Is there a problem that needs to be solved? Is there something that he's looking for? Is he on a journey?
He's kind of just trying to have an adventure. Like, I feel like he wants to know what's on the other, like, the world outside of the graveyard. Because he's not allowed to go out.
Okay, so then there's this horizon beyond. So like there's a I'm assuming there's like a fenced in area that he can't escape from yet, and he's trying to figure out how. Okay, and have other people or other beings, I'll say, werewolves or anything. Has anybody ever escaped from the graveyard and can tell him what it's like?
Yeah. Some of the, like, characters in the book can go out and get him food and stuff. But I don't think he, like, wants to. But I think he wants to, but, like, he can't.
He just can't do it.
Yeah, he just can't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interestingly. Okay, so we have somewhat of a journey here. He's trying to figure out how to go beyond the gates of the graveyard. How far along are you in the book?
About, like, almost halfway.
Okay, so good. So there's no spoilers yet. We don't know what's going to happen. All right. If you were to describe Bod in one or two words, what would be the key descriptors that you would use to describe him?
Adventurous and brave.
And brave? Okay, why would you choose brave?
Because he's not really afraid to do stuff. Like, in the book, he got apples from a tree, and then there was, like, one on the top that was, like, shiny and red, and he really wanted to get it. So he just climbed the tree, and then he fell, but he was, like, brave. He didn't really, like...
Didn't let it bother him?
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, I know you brought a couple pages for us to read today, so I'm going to pass the book along to you so you can find that page. Yeah, this is one of our Book Bowl books this year, and it's if you're unfamiliar with Book Bowl, it's a competition we have every year with the 6th grade students in which we read a whole bunch of different books. There's 14 different ones, and we have a competition as to what we read and the different concepts and themes. And after we read this little section, I have a couple more questions about the main theme of this book, okay? So you may begin.
Boy, what are you doing? Bod looked up. There was someone on the other side of the gorse bush watching him. Nothing, said Bod. He stuck out his tongue. The face on the other side of the gorse bush crumpled into a gargoyle, tongue sticking out, eyes popping, then returned to girl. That was good, said Bod, impressed. I can make really good faces, said the girl. Look at this one. She pushed her nose out with one finger, creased her mouth into a huge, satisfied smile, squinted her eyes, puffed out her cheeks. Do you know what this was? Do you know what that was? No. It was a pig, silly. Oh, Bod thought. You mean like P is for pig? Of course like that. Hang on. She came around the gorse bush and stood next to Bod, who got to his feet. She was a little older than he was, a little taller, and was dressed in bright colors, yellow and pink and orange. Bod, in his gray winding sheet, felt dowy and drab. How old are you? Said the girl. What are you doing here? Do you live here? What's your name? I don't know, said Bod. You don't even know your own name? Said the girl. Of course you do. Everybody knows their own name, fibber. I know my name, said Bod, and I know what I'm doing here, but I don't know the other thing you said. How old are you? Bod nodded. Well, said the girl, what was you when you was last birthday? I didn't, said Bod. I never was. Everybody gets birthdays. You mean you never had cake or candles or stuff? Bod shook his head. The girl looked sympathetic. Poor thing. I'm 5. I bet you're 5 too.
So why do you think you chose this particular portion of the story?
I chose this part because it kind of, like, you learn a lot about Bod in, like, a short, like, version of it. And I think it shows a lot of, like, his personality.
Yeah. Who is he talking to?
He is talking to a girl named, I believe, wait, look, sorry.
Yeah, well, you look her up. Is she a real girl or is she a ghost girl?
She's a real girl.
Okay.
Her name is Scarlet.
Scarlet. And are they speaking to one another during the day or during the night?
During the day.
Okay, so Bod can exit and appear to people and just be, because he's alive, but is he alive all the time? Like, does he sleep and things like that?
I think he sleeps, but so he can be visible to some people, and some people can't see him. Like sometimes he's invisible and sometimes he's visible.
Interesting concept. Why do you think that is?
I don't know, probably because he lives in the graveyard, so ghosts, he kind of adapted to the ghost ways of they're invisible. So
I see what you're saying. So the evolution of ghostery. Okay, all right. So you're only about halfway through the book, so probably won't be able to answer this question in its entirety. But if you were to put a main theme to this book, what do you think What do you think Neil is trying to tell us through this book?
Probably I don't know, live adventurous or something like that, or even if you're drawn out from the world, you can still go explore on some other place. I don't know.
Okay, so maybe if I could maybe interpret what you're trying to say here is maybe you are kind of locked inside one little area, but even then there's so much to explore. Kind of like the way we are in school. We go to school, we go home, we do our activities. We live in a small world, but perhaps the author's trying to tell us that maybe we don't live in such a small world. Maybe the world is bigger than we think it is, and maybe we can find and appreciate what we like where we currently are, but still have that desire to go out and find more. Interesting. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Book Tasters. I am TJ Burdick, your host. If you want to listen or watch on our YouTube channel these podcast episodes, you may visit thebooktasters.com. That's TheBookTasters.com. Ariana, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.